Is it weird to say that 2020, like during the pandemic, was like the best time to be a software engineer? Because I don't, I don't see any way that it wasn't. Um, the weird part is that I feel like an absolute loser when I say it. Um, I've been a software engineer now for almost 15 years. I started doing it in high school. I was building websites for people, and then, that turned into university, and then I did some research projects, and then I ended up in a position at a fairly large company. And I can honestly say that when we finally got the notice that everything was shutting down in 2020, it was like the best news that we could have ever gotten. We got sent home. We got to work from home. The whole nature of the development process just changed to this asynchronous thing. And then we built our lives around this period because it looked like it was going to be fairly permanent. And then, as we probably should have expected in business, when the pendulum swings, it swings towards benefiting workers for a little while. It's going to swing back just as hard the other way for companies. And that's made even worse right now by the fact that these mega corporations can basically do whatever they want. And they used COVID as an excuse to get away with their obligations. And now it's finally turning back on workers now that they can, cut their employees down to bare minimum. What I've noticed is that, obviously working from home is fucking awesome. And, having that work-life balance is fantastic. But when it comes down to it, the companies will just force people back into the office, even if it doesn't make any sense. Now, whether that means they want, control over their employees, or whether they want to, justify their real estate investments, like, who knows? It probably varies from company to company. And, maybe even some of the leaders legitimately believe that people just don't do their work from home, which is ridiculous. Across the board, software, all of the GPT stuff came, from working, from people that were working from home. So the idea that we don't do any work when we're at home is just ridiculous. But instead, we need to participate in this system where we, commute into the office to go and do this junk. And in the last, especially the last year, with these layoffs that have been happening, it's become very clear to me that we're swinging back to this, employers being basically owners, slave owners of their employees. And when I started, that was the case. Back in 2016, the idea that you could ask your employer to do something like work from home or hybrid just was unthinkable. Like, nobody would be able to do that unless you were some super insanely specialized employee that they couldn't say no to. The company that I work for, their reasoning for sending us back has to do with collaboration and fairness. They think that it's not fair for us to do our work from home when there are field techs that have to drive out and do their work, in the field. And I get it to an extent, but you also have to think about, like, I don't do my work from a lab. Would I prefer to do that? Well, I don't have the option to do that. Is that fair? Of course not. Different jobs have different conditions. And the meaninglessness of driving in and trying to force yourself to go and be an office worker just sucks. And it sucks so bad. And, you know, you complain about it and nobody cares. All the normal workers that, you know, actually have to be, you know, co-located are just like, suck it up, pussy. Like, what's wrong with you? Just fucking do it. But it's like when your employer is asking you to do something that you know is stupid and you know is just a waste. It sucks. And then the worst part about it is that you are responsible for having to pay to you know, actually get there. You have to pay pointlessly to drive to a place and then work from the place, talk to nobody, and then drive back. So it's effectively just cut your wage by however much your gas for your commute is. And I mean, you could argue that, like, oh well, before 2020 nobody cared about that. That wasn't a problem. But I mean, it makes a noticeable difference. And when we constructed our lives around it, you know, we made certain decisions about where to live during the pandemic, those sort of things. We were kind of assuming that maybe, you know, this swing towards workers' rights was going to be something that would actually hang out for a while. But obviously that was wrong. And I should have known better before making that sort of assumption. My experience with the pre-COVID world was pretty much identical to this. I would say that this is essentially, we are back to what pre-COVID work-life balance was like, which it sucks. And I was just as depressed back then as I am about this whole situation now. The only real advantage that we got was we did get some days home. But as with everything in business, or at least in the corporate world, it comes with this condition. And that condition is they're now going to use that little bit of freedom that you got as a wedge. So now when it comes down to, oh, we need to punish you, we'll just threaten to remove that hybrid work. We'll force you to come in all the time because we know you hate it. And having that held over your head all the time really, really sucks. And it's the instability that really, really sucks. Obviously, my preference is remote work. Totally. I work better at my house. I always have. But at the very least, it would be nice to not have corporations threatening to send us back home for being lazy, which is the excuse that they always like to use whenever they fail to meet their earnings for the quarter. But that is just what life as a business peasant is, unfortunately. And there's not really anything we can do to get away from it. It's just what it is. I don't know the solution, but I do know that it sucks, and I don't like it. I want to try and get something else. I want to try and move on. I want to try and move back to this, but everything that I can see is just basically a regression to the mean, which it blows. But I mean, that is the modern software development world, and the market being really, really tight for developers right now basically just emboldens companies to do whatever the fuck they want. And they can do whatever the fuck they want because what's your option? You're gonna hire somebody else, or you're gonna go get a job somewhere else. Good luck. You know, this whole thing's got me sad. I don't really like the headspace that it's putting me in. So if you guys like this I'm gonna do the thing. No, I'm not gonna do the thing. Fuck it. Who cares? The fucking internet's over already. We're just gonna deal with the fucking leftovers now. Have a good one.